Hi there, it's John from Tutor to You. Welcome to the Economics Teachers Staffroom. In each episode we're going to consider a major topic facing economics teachers. We're going to ask our panel of experienced practitioners to give their advice and suggestions. Here we're going to discuss promoting economics at your centre. Let's meet the panel.
Hi John, I'm Mike Mills and I have been teaching business and economics for over 20 years. About half of that I've been teaching economics. I work as head of business and economics in an independent school in the southwest. In addition to my teaching, I have been a senior examiner as well as contributing to Tutor to You as a presenter.
Hi, hello everyone. My name's Cathy Williams. I'm a head of department. I work at an independent girls' school. I teach EdXL, economics.
Hi, my name's Paul Goldsmith. I have been teaching economics for 20 years. I've done a mixture of both EdXL and AQA. I was head of economics and politics at a state school for 3 years, and then I moved to a London independent school where I was a pastoral leader for 11 years. I then changed to being head of economics and politics at the school, but after a year I stepped down to concentrate on my PhD.
Yeah, hi John. This is Stuart Block here. So I've been teaching economics for 16 years. I've been a head of department in both the independent and state sector, and I'm currently on the SLT at a selective independent school in London, but I split my economics teaching across two schools, my own and a local non-selective academy. My teaching since 2015 has all been EdXL.
Tell us about what you do in your centre for open days or evenings.
So I think having a good display board and student material, whether it's Economics Magazine, if you do one, examples of their work, info about the course, and I think what it's useful for from a careers perspective, I think is important. But as well as inspiring colleagues, I think the most important thing at an open day or evening is having the right students as honest advocates for the subject.
So first of all, we're not asked to do 11 plus open days, but we do 16 plus external and internal recruitment evenings. And one of the things that I did as soon as I became head of department was to move the location of this to a room that everybody has to go past whichever direction they go. So they come out of a talk and then they go up and down our main corridor and they have to go past our room. The other thing is I have politics and economics in the same room. And the reason we do that is that they often will consider both. So they might think they're coming in for politics, but then they actually start to hear about economics, become interested in that, or they've come in for economics and they might hear about politics, because they do work well together as subjects, but also sometimes there's just more chance of them picking one of them, which I think is quite important at A-level where they're new subjects. We pick students who study both to come into the room so they can speak to prospective students about either. And it really does matter when students speak rather than us, because they tend to have no agenda, whereas we need to recruit people in order to justify our jobs. But also we have posters in the room that explain economics. We also have textbooks, examples of activities we do. But what we also do is we have a list of basically frequently asked questions. And after so many years, we know what questions are going to be asked, such as, what is economics? What do we learn in economics? How are we assessed? What university courses does it lead to? What subjects work well with it? And we're often asked about the amount of maths as well. So we're ready with those answers, but they also take away a piece of paper with them on.
I have to say, I never regard open days as being a sort of standalone event. For me, they're very much culmination of a year-long effort all round to try and make sure students taking the best possible decisions. I suppose in many ways I do much of the usual things. I really like the Tutor to You poster sets, the why study economics, what jobs are there in economics. At a typical open evening, I say typical because I'll tend to change it around every year. I'll have my ear very much to the ground What are people saying? What are people concerned about? What's really going to resonate with this year group? And I'll concentrate on answering the questions that I know people want answered. So typically, what's the difference between economics and business? That must be the same sort of throughout the country. But I'll also make sure that I think they've got answers to the questions that they need to ask. So I'm thinking in particular of these misconceptions that we know exist in economics, so people not understanding quite what the subject is. And I really, really want them to do that and to know just what exciting things it is economists are involved in. I want them to have a very clear understanding of what's involved in studying the subject, and in particular, the role that maths does and doesn't play in it. And I really want them to have a very clear idea of what's in it for them. So, what is this marvelous subject going to do for them, and how is it going to enrich their lives?
I think one of the things we've started to do and recognised is really important is to treat business and economics as two different subjects. Because we are one department, it's easy for the two to get thrown in together, but it's that recognition that they are different with some overlap. And so it's being able to address that common question: what's the difference between economics and business? But at the same time, being able to treat them as they deserve to be, as different subjects. So open evenings and open days are there's dedicated economics area and a dedicated business area with subject experts, even if they do teach both subjects, subject experts, and students who are studying one or both subject, who can help to promote and to sell that.
What other opportunities do you have to work with younger year groups, if any, and what do you do with them?
I have some timetabled opportunities. So I have lessons as part of a carousel with year 9 and year 10. And in those lessons, again, we vary it about. So at the moment, I'm teaching the year 9s, and I've based my lessons around the Bank of England book, Why Can't We Print More Money? And that's gone really, really well. In the year above that, we tend to look at some key topics such as inequality. I'm thinking of maybe changing it a little bit next year, really to hammer home even more clearly what it is economists do. Other opportunities I create. So do a publication each week called Bossonomics that goes to every single student in the school, where I'll talk about an item from the news from an economic perspective, and that will be something that a year 7 can understand but will still be interesting to a year 13. I do lots of activities with other departments. So edible economics was huge fun, based on the book of the same name, with our food and nutrition department. We've got a fantastic room based on the MasterChef kitchen, and they made carrot tart tatans, and I talked about the economies of scale in carrot production and how spices have been used as money. Then we did lime and chili ice cream lollipop things, and I talked about lemons and asymmetric information. We've done polynomics with the politics department, and girls, much younger girls, all down through the school, will come to these, and they proved really popular. So any opportunity, I think you have to take it when you have a subject like ours, to make sure that you've got a sufficiently high profile out there.
We're very fortunate in that we are year 9 through to year 13, and so we have an opportunity to have year 8 pupils come in later in the school year for a taster day We also run a Year 9 Enterprise Day before they make their GCSE options, and we do a similar sixth form taster opportunity before they make A-level selections. And the focus for all three of those different events is really to give a flavour of economics and what it's like to study economics, and to be able to deal with real life situations and real life problems in an economics context, to try and get them thinking about some of those broader topics.
Yeah, so we don't run a GCSE in economics. I have taught it at previous schools. So in terms of working with the non-sixth forms, we run a junior economics society. We get the sixth form committee to lead that. And then younger students can come along to our weekly economics society events that we run with the politics department. As well as that, although not directly related to economics, we have a strong entrepreneurship not department, but events, and we run year group events all the way through from year 7 to 11, from short workshops for sort of year 7 and 8 to a 3-day event for year 11s post their GCSE. All of that feeds through into students being interested in business and economics when they get to the sixth form.
Part of our recruitment strategy is to try and work with as many young people in lower year groups as we can, and also to get them to come up to our department, which is in a different part of the school. So to start with, we have a lower school entrepreneurs club, and that's a club that gives apprentice style tasks to the kids, and they come back and do presentations each week. And we have about 70 lower schoolers come to that every week. In the summer term, we got them to write a business plan for a product to raise money for charity. We also have a middle school investment club, which teaches kids about investments, and they do a share trading game while they're at it. But we also have timetabled opportunities to engage with younger years. For instance, we have a global goals course in year 9, which is based around the sustainable development goals, and asks students to research them and then actually engage in projects. And that has some economics around it. But in particular, we have World Perspectives, which is a course that we created about 15 years ago. It actually replaces a GCSE. And it's things that they should learn at GCSE but aren't part of a course. So we have a section on complexity and controversy that includes bits on inequality and things like that. But they really get a chance to think about economic issues. We do occasional talks in assemblies when we can. And also when we have major speakers, we invite the younger pupils. I think a really important thing to talk about is that we are revamping our middle school curriculum. And as part of that, we're getting rid of most GCSEs apart from English language and maths. And we're actually creating some economics courses for that, including one called Be the Chancellor and another one on behavioural economics. I also encourage, and we have other teachers who run other clubs for younger pupils, which might be debating, but also, for instance, I run a Fantasy Premier League FPL club, and I go on trips with younger pupils as well. And the reason why is because you often have informal conversations about your subjects. They're actually quite curious about what it is. And if you can plant a seed at a young age, then I think it bears fruits as they get older. Every conversation you have with younger pupils in the school is an opportunity.
Are there any other things you do that promote economics to students and parents, or things you'd like to try?
Yeah, one of the best ways of promoting the subject for me is to use students who are studying that, or who have studied that and have come back into school or college for whatever reason. They are the best voices. They're the ones with that first-hand experience who can help. But using economics issues in the news, in whole school assemblies, can be a really useful way of dealing with that, and also running whole school activities and opportunities that students of all ages can get involved in. So we run a virtual share investors club that is open to students in any year, regardless of what subjects they're studying.
Well, it depends what you regard as economics. One of the things that we try and do, and we ask our colleagues to do, is point out where they're teaching economics concepts. So geography, GCSE has economics concepts. I think there's some in biology as well, in design too, and anywhere where, for instance, climate change is involved or things like that. But actually, generally, whatever we want to do to promote it, as long as it's done fairly in terms of other subjects, the school allows us to do it. So we're very lucky in that regard.
It's a good question. We're in a fortunate position, reflected at many schools now, that arguably we've got too many students wanting to do economics for A-level. And I think that's down to just the fascinating environment that we're in currently, and we have been for the last few years. But in particular with Trump and the global economic situation. So I don't think we need to do it. We don't feel need to do anything more to promote it. But I think one thing that we would like to do more of is flagging events on the school's social media and marketing channels, making sure the curricular and co-curricular events are on those channels or on the website. And that's something I think we should do more of. And obviously that would help to promote the subject and give parents a greater understanding of what their kids are doing whilst they're at school.
I think one of the most fun things we've done recently, which has been quite instrumental actually in terms of my students thinking about the subjects, we had a Bring Your Parents to School day. So I ran a number of economics lessons for parents, which was on the one hand quite scary, as some of them clearly are economists and quite eminent in their fields as well. But it was just a perfect opportunity for parents to see exactly what it is we do in lessons with their children, and got some very positive responses and made it much easier when I saw those parents again at open evenings to have really quite meaningful conversations with them. I'd like to do more than I do at the moment in terms of I've got a mix of parents who are very engaged in their children's education, others that are a little bit too busy. I'd like to do some more sort of slightly more directed activities with them that they could consider. And I have a fair number of people in, but I'd like to have even more, especially on the sort of careers front, not just people that have taken perhaps studied economics at uni and gone on and worked in that field, but people that took economics at uni and have gone on and done something completely different, but they still use those skills. And I really want the students to understand what an incredibly flexible and rewarding subject this is.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Economics Teachers Staff Room.